Hi everyone. So I have another installment in my Throwback Thursday type series, and this one is featuring the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette. So what I did previously for the start of the series was the Urban Decay Naked palette, and it's just taking things that have been really hyped up in the beauty community, putting them on my face, kind of revisiting them. What do I think about them now? Do I think they were worth the hype? Do I think you should go out and buy it? That kind of thing. So this is obviously a lot more wallet friendly than the Urban Decay Naked palette, but it has been something that has really had a lot of hype over the years. It's been out for quite a while now, and while Wet n Wild shadows in general I think are pretty hyped up within the beauty community, this specific palette really has received a lot of attention, probably because of this shade, which is like MAC Club. Too Faced has a shadow. It used to be called Lounge, maybe, or maybe that's what it's called now. It was called something else before. Blue Brown Pigment from MAC, I think, was the originator perhaps before Club. I'm not sure. So many people make this color, this type of color, and a lot of them are different variations on kind of the base. So this one is very much of a red burgundy base with a teal shimmer. Sometimes the shimmer is a little bit more green or a little bit more blue, and this one is definitely on the teal side. So outside of that shade, I feel like this palette has a lot of interesting colors. This green is very pretty. I love that this brow bone, which, I mean, putting that on the brow bone, a little crazy per usual, but it's kind of a cool golden pewter-ish color. It's really interesting and very pretty, I think. It has a very pretty kind of soft coppery color, and the brown is nice. It's not too warm. Really interesting set of colors. So I will swatch these for you. My hand is moisturized, but it's not primed. The one shade that I feel like I wish was a little bit better is this kind of creamy color. Mine is a little bit dry, so it doesn't have the same kind of creamy texture that most of the other shades have. Woo! Woo! I don't use the darker shades very often, and you can see that they do tend to be a little bit more on the powdery side, but again, tap off your brush and most of that can be not a problem. So there's that duochrome shade. You can see it's not super pigmented compared to some of the others, like the more neutral, the bronzy shade and the coppery shade. The green is very nicely pigmented, that really interesting kind of golden, cool golden pewtery kind of shade, also nice pigmentation. So everything is obviously has some level of shine to it. I don't use the two darkest shades barely ever, really, so I can't say to how they translate on the eyes. And I think that funky color, beautiful all over the lids. Actually, I think I'm gonna do that tomorrow because it's so pretty. Swatching it just reminds me how pretty it is. Let's just get into how I did this look on my eyes and then come back and talk about it. So this was obviously a very shimmery look. I didn't want to incorporate any other palettes, just to show you what you can do with this palette. So I did put the kind of pewtery golden color in my crease first, just to make blending of the reddish brown a little bit easier. So while that shade is super pretty, and it swatches when you first get it on your finger, you're like, whoa, that's awesome. It feels like the duochrome is going to be really intense and it's going to translate on the eyes really well. I have troubles getting any of it to show up. So as you saw, I just kept going over it and kept going over it. I've gone over it with my fingers when I can't get enough intensity from a brush. I've tried just a brush. I've tried over a little stickier of a base, and I've tried spritzing the brush with a setting spray and then putting it on damp. Whew. I can never really get it to show the way that I'm hoping it will. So while I feel like you get a little hint of that duochrome, it's definitely not as intense as I would hope based on how you see it may swatch on your fingers. That being said, the base color is really pretty, and when you can get a little of the duochrome, I think it's a really nice effect. If you use a colored base, I think it will work a little bit better. And when I used the blue eyeliner and then went over it, I feel like it did change a little. You got to see a little bit more of that shimmer. So yeah, totally think it's worth buying the palette. It's not very expensive. It's less than $10, I'm sure. I don't remember how much this is going for these days, if it's like $6, $8. Whatever. You get 8 shadows. I feel like they're all good, usable shadows. There's none in here that really are duds. You do have to make sure to tap off the excess because they are powdery, but that is something you encounter in higher end shadows that are well pigmented too. So I don't really think that's a downside. I did show the fallout that I saw, and it brushed away with a fan brush without a problem. So, and there wasn't a ton of it. It was just a little, and it was mainly because I was really trying to pack on this color to get the duochrome finish. As far as longevity, I feel like I do get a little fading. I don't get creasing as long as I use a good primer underneath. My lids are somewhat oily. They're not super duper oily, but I do have fading issues with a variety of shadows depending on what primer I use. So I think that's about it. Overall, I think this one is worth the hype. I feel like it's a really nice palette. It's very affordable, it's easy to get, very accessible, it's permanent, and it's just a fun variety of colors that aren't as common at the drugstore. I feel like the eyeshadows available at the drugstore are definitely getting better, and there's more selection of good quality shadows and more interesting colors, but I feel like this one still holds up to the test of time. It's still pretty unique for the drugstore. The quality is still a little bit better than a lot of things at the drugstore. Things like the Maybelline quads and the CoverGirl quads that are in those kind of rectangular formats, the CoverGirl True Naked, that formula, while very soft and pigmented, I feel like is a little bit more prone to fading than the Wet n Wild formula. So let me know if you have this palette, if you're kind of inspired to dig it out and use it again. If you don't have it and you'd like to pick it up, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you have a favorite palette or any trick to getting this that duochrome to work a little bit better for you, please do share. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you soon.